Okay, so the top 10 marketing trends that you can start working on today and how you can start working on them. Okay, so trend number one, gang, is more of a kind of things to look for in a theme that unfortunately is still going to be bubbling around in the background. And that theme clearly is that with new variants, new viruses, new figures, we're not out of the woods. Now, I spoke to my $1 Million Sprint clients yesterday in our big kickoff for this year. And I said, look, I actually am looking at the markets, the financial markets and the property markets. And when there's a boom, like there happened at the end, and then actually a rising, particularly in the property markets, the small business economy tends to then start to track that about 6 months behind. And also the kind of feel-good factor that's coming out at the moment. I know that sounds strange to say feel-good factor, but the fact that they can kind of see that the worst may just be behind us. Controversial. I know a lot of people don't feel that same way, but a lot of people feel that the worst of COVID, i.e. the more deadliest virus side, is kind of behind us. And even Boris himself is trying to hopefully kind of, say that we could try and work our way through this without another lockdown. I think a lot of people are seeing that and seeing this year is maybe the year that they start doing it. Do you remember lots of people last year tried to put on events and then they had to cancel them and all the rest of it? I actually feel that this year is when we start to really get back into the groove of it. So we're not out of the woods yet. And we have to also make sure that we have plans afoot if there is COVID problems, particularly if you are looking to do events, particularly if you are looking to have clients on. Those things are important and you have to still think about that. And the whole commentary around how you market in 2022 will still have this hangover, but I also think that we've got a lot to be positive about, and there's a lot of potential of opening up. Even to, I think today they're reviewing the actual flights and the restrictions around travel, international travel now into the UK, and lowering that as well. Now, don't get me wrong, the NHS looks like it's really struggling. I completely understand that, but it's looking like it's not as deadly. Fingers crossed. I'm not a medical, I'm not an expert, but let's hope it's for the best, right? Jean, you look like you're holding your hands to go, no. This fingers crossed, okay. John, you got the mask on. So this is all going well, isn't it? Okay, so trend number two, because of this, and actually just as good business practice, I think that we should all be developing an online event strategy. Now, when I say online event, there's a few different ways of sort of making that happen. Obviously, one, you could be doing something similar to this, bring a group of people together, make it feel very much an interactive session. It's great. You see people, they interact with people, questions can ask. It's very important. Could be networking, could be some sort of kind of social mixer online that you host underneath your brand. Could be a thought leadership piece like this. Could just be that you're going to live stream your podcast as a Facebook Live, or actually use something like new technology. It's not new so much anymore, but if you look into something like a StreamYard or sort of like a Restream, you can actually set up a stream where it goes into multiple platforms, and that can be your online event strategy. But by having something that you bring an audience together, see them, get them to actually interact, maybe register, maybe give them bonus material, whatever it is. If you put that into your armory, if you have that in your locker and you make it a rhythm, we talk about a weekly moment, having a moment in your week that you bring people into. If you can develop an online event strategy, 2022 will be a year that is still yielding really well, because we have all very used to it now. I'm teaching to suck eggs here, because you all know you are here at an online event. But if you're not putting that out in your marketing, or if you're not having something that you're creating that does this, then you're missing out on being able to interact and build relationships with your audience. So trend number two, build an online event strategy. Cool. Okay, trend number three, AI. So we talked about AI for a while, but actually as small businesses, how does AI really start to help us? Well, actually there is a few things, such as smart chat that you could have on your website. It's great. Things like Intercom is a fantastic software you can use on your website for things like that. Bit tricky, I think, that actually to really get that right. But one of the things that our clients are using a lot is something called copy.ai, which is this. So copy.ai have actually, they used to have to pay for it to, you could only use it once, but they've actually opened up to a bit more of a freemium model, and all of us can have a little play with this. Essentially what you're doing is you're just creating a blog post or creating some copy off the back of just putting some text in. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll just come out of here and I'll just give you a quick demo. So, oh, here you go, I've got it up. So copy.ai, really simple. So literally that's the web address. You kind of sign in with your Google address. Let me just kind of do a bit of a sign in. And you can create everything from sales copy, social media, blogs, emails. There's even things like these startup tools, quite interesting, like a brand mission statement, a brand voice. Now, Keith Grover, who's a fantastic copywriter who's on here, is going to be screaming because it's always...
I'm a robot, Richard, you know that.
Yeah. Are you really you? Keith is a cyborg. No, but the point is it's never going to be as good as having a real copywriter actually work on it. But what we found with our clients is that if they're putting out an email campaign and they just don't feel that their language is flowery enough, marketing enough, persuasive enough, they'll come onto here and then they'll be able to put together a post. So let's just have a look at this and look at this blog post. The nice thing is they've got these little tutorials which will show you. So this one is talking about sustainably built dog leash. Okay, so interesting. So fine, but if I just put create copy here, it's then going to help you to create your blog topic with some ideas. So you can see here a number of ideas come out. So 4 paws, hands-free dog leash, sustainably built with cotton webbing. My dog leash is sustainably built, comfortable, and looks great. I made my first sustainable dog leash. Do you know what I mean? It creates a number of titles and templates for you to play with. And it just gives you a bit more language. It's kind of title generators and blog generators. So this sort of stuff is good. My clients are really working it. They really enjoy it. Personally, I don't have enough. I don't have a problem with writing flowery content. I am that, I've been doing it long enough. It's just the spelling that's my problem. But this is really good for maybe inspiration. So stuff like that can really help. Okay. So it's a practical AI tool. Okay, so there's lots of AI that's coming into the market. Number 4, the Metaverse. And what is the Metaverse? So obviously Facebook have rebranded their name. Not uncommon. Remember, Google rebranded to the name Alphabet, a few years ago. But actually, what does it actually say about the direction that they're going in? They didn't, rebrand themselves to the social verse, did they? And the Metaverse is all about this virtual and augmented experiences. They, long time ago, crikey, years ago, they brought Oculus Rift, which was one of the first virtual VR headsets, way ahead of anybody really taking it seriously. But they've been investing in that for what must be 5+ years in that company. And now that they've actually completely rebranded their name and actually their whole ethos around this metaverse. And if you actually look at some of the stuff that they're bringing out, the videos, etc., it's very much about virtual rooms. So an event like this through the metaverse, you would all be in my virtual conference room, which I can have set up with moving images around the walls of all the cool stuff that we do. When I'm talking about slides, these slides will be buzzing around us. It will be really, really cool. And as you walk in, we can have a virtual walk-in environment that will be really inspirational. So you get into that front right part of your brain. That means that you're more susceptible to ideas. It's a very interesting world we're going into. Now, marketers are going crazy about this and everybody goes crazy about the new shiny thing. But what does it actually mean for us? Well, I don't think that you guys are going to be developing your own conference suite next year or this year. I don't think I will be either. I think it's not there yet, but the world is going towards that and we need to understand that. So actually having that in your mindset that one day my aspirations start thinking about that. So if you haven't had a play with VR, I'm not saying go out and buy an expensive kit, but find someone who's got one. Have a feel for it, see what it's like, see where maybe you could start to make a play there. But it comes with a 4.1 is own your audience. So remember when Facebook had this big crash and people were losing data and Facebook went down for a day, etc. Remember when anybody's putting out these new platforms, you know, TikTok's coming, that everybody's kind of getting, oh, that's coming into B2B, or the metaverse is there. Just remember that the most important thing is that if you are doing events or doing any of this stuff, to make sure that people are registering and you are still getting inquiries and you own your leads, you own your database. Because if you have got building audiences on this social platform and then the trend goes to that social platform and you lose this audience, these people own your audiences. You know, if you, anybody that built a huge Clubhouse following is thinking, well, why did I do that anymore? Because Clubhouse is kind of cooling down, right? And so all of that energy is gone. If they didn't siphon that audience into a classic database like your email list, then all of that effort isn't contained for you to then continue to market them into the next thing that you're doing. So just remember that as you go into new platforms. Cool. Okay. Trend number 5, influencer marketing transitioning further into B2B and SME space. So we're now starting to see the influencers, you know, the vloggers, and all the cool young people, they're actually starting to not all be young or even cool. So the point is, influencer marketing with people with big social media followings are starting to be used further by B2B brands. Now, you know, Adobe is starting to use them. You're starting to see other B2B brands using influencer marketing, and also the SME space can start to use micro influencers. So if you find someone that's, you know, wrote a really great complimentary book that's got a decent audience in the B2B small business space that might go and do a virtual event with you, or might put on some sort of marketing or share your stuff to them, that is a micro influencer, i.e. they have your audience, and you can though use that person's audience to be able to push your event, content, product out through. And that is really important to really think about that, because attention is everything. And if someone's got a large following, especially in 2022, then you can start to use that following to transition. And when you go into a new social platform, such as there's something in the metaverse or TikTok, if you really want to jump in there, you could use someone else's following to piggyback through. So then you gather following quickly. So just understand that. In the simplest terms, partnering with someone to do a Zoom event or a webinar where they've got a big following and they can invite people, and you've got a bit of a list, you can invite people. That's a great way of siphoning audiences as well. So just think about influencer marketing and actually think about it as a small business and micro influencers to be able to help. Cool. So the bit that kind of comes on that 5.1 is invest in your strong brand image. So people will want to partner with other people that have got a good image, good brand, and also have an audience. So if you haven't really thought about you and how you show up online, and I'm not talking about you've got to post, you know, selfies in front of someone else's Bentley, going like this and pouting. That's not what it's all about. It's about investing in who you are and what your values are and why your audience should listen to you, and then making sure that actually transitions online. So when someone checks you out, you do genuinely look sharp, polished, exactly how you want to see it. And it's probably a slide that could have been up 5 years ago and now, but just remember that people look across all platforms. And if you're showing up somewhere, you don't have to be everywhere, but wherever you do show up, make sure it's on brand and on point. Good. Okay, trend number 6. LinkedIn is growing. And it's always was a lot smaller than the other social networks, which is, although we as B2B small businesses or you know, in the small business sector, we kind of look to LinkedIn and go, well, that was a good place to be. It's a professional network. But actually it is coming really to play for the bigger boys. And of course it's sold to Microsoft, and now with that backing and the fact it is a real big growing powerhouse of a network, Where it will go to now, 2022, is real investment within their ads platform. And LinkedIn ads will start to be the same type of conversation that we were having about Facebook ads. Yes, people saying LinkedIn ads are expensive and they're difficult. The cost will come down and the user experience will go up, and everybody will transition on there quickly. So if you haven't ever checked out that, or even looked at the LinkedIn ads platform, it's worth having a little play about with it and have a little feel for it, because when Facebook ads were super cheap and nobody was there, then the people who were there first did really well out of it. So LinkedIn will be going that way soon. So if you haven't had a real look at it, then that's definitely worth checking out. Outside of ads, LinkedIn itself is really, really strong. And we use a number of LinkedIn automation softwares that we share with our clients and we train them on, to the extent that I get systematic connection requests that go out to real specific target audiences that then I then go and email and say, thanks for connecting. And there's a whole strategy that you can work on in terms of LinkedIn automation that isn't done in a way of, oh God, it's another blooming huge long email trying to flog me something. It's done in a really conversationalist style. And that type of strategy is working incredibly well at the moment on LinkedIn. Also, the reach of your content organically on LinkedIn, posts, polls, doing a little poll question, and also LinkedIn events, again, can be great powerhouses for you. So if you can put your virtual events, promote them on LinkedIn, use the organic reach of those posts to be able to get lots of new people into those events, then that can be incredibly good for you in 2022. So place to watch and practically get your teeth into, LinkedIn. Cool. All right, trend number 7, make things personal and experiential. And what we mean by this is that there's so much data out there that you can start to segregate your audience better. You can really target your audience far better and say, yes, I only want to go after, I don't know, you say something like, I want to go after accountants that are based in the Southeast that have over 5 staff. Definitely you can target those people. But then if you target those people, then the type of content you can put out to them can be, hey, as an accountant that has over 5 members of their team and is trying to sell into this sector, here's the 7 things that people try and do, or mistakes people make. That is a hyper targeted, personalized piece of content that you can put out to people. And when they start to click on that, you can then start to reach out to them and you can make their experience through your content really great. So experiential marketing could be that you use something like a Bonjoro. And a Bonjoro is when you can actually use a personalized video that you send to people. So for example, let me just jump onto that and just show you. Bonjoro is a cool platform. Bonjoro. Right, there you go. And it allows new leads to be hoovered into their platform. And then once they hoover it into the platform, it creates a task. This is Bonjoro here. It's not expensive, but you can see here that, oh, hello, get rid of that, go away. You can see here that, oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong thing and it's taking me through a, how do I get out of that? Right, okay, so you go into the task list and it will bring your new leads into a task list. Now, go away. So the beauty of a demo, hey? So as you go into this task list, you can see here that there's new tasks coming in here, new leads coming in, and I can go into this person and I can go and record a personalized email back to that person to welcome them into my 5-day challenge. So a couple of months ago, we did a 5-day challenge and then new people came into here and I press record. It will then link up to my video and you can then go and record it. Because I'm working on a Zoom here, probably not going to show the double video, but I would be able to record a personal message to that person. So I go, hi, Abby, welcome to the 5-day challenge. Great to see you. Just a couple of pointers. And when you log on, you want to look at this and then make sure you share stuff in the Facebook group. Great to see Abby. Your website looks awesome. And looking forward to catching up with you in the next couple of days on the challenge. Bam, you send that. So each new person, you're sending a personalized message, and it's all working and seamlessly creating an experience for them, personalization for them, and it's not taking too much time off you. That's not loading because obviously I'm already using my camera. So cool. So check out Bonjoro. All right, let's go back to the presentation. So that was trend number 7, make things personal and experiential. Trend number 8, become a storyteller. So there's a great book called The Story Brand, really, really cool in terms of making everything that you do very much story first, and talking to your clients as if they are the heroes, not you, and you are their guide to be able to help them to get to where they want to be. So that's quite an interesting positioning thing. So if you want to read about the story brand, that's great. What does it mean in 2022? Well, if you actually start looking at the social media posts that do really well, say a Facebook, a LinkedIn, etc., you'll see that when people tell stories in those posts, or even tell stories about their aha moment. So they'll say, well, I remember when I did X, Y, and Z, and back in the day I struggled with this, and then I had this epiphany, and now I'm able to be able to, do 2 million push-ups and on one finger or whatever it is. It's a case of that story draws you in. It draws you in. It's one of the most important things as part of your narrative. And when you're talking about strong personal brand, which is one of the trends before, you add in storytelling into that, and you then bring it to a social platform such as those long form social media posts that you see, the written ones, or of course, the story features on phones where you're taking those little story videos, little story pictures, and people are tracking you and what you're doing daily. Now, God knows how many people that I see daily going to gyms, what they're eating, all that sort of stuff. But the thing is that they do just seem to hit your mindset when you sit there scrolling in the evenings on your phone, just a bit of escapism, and then you start to see these people, and it's that frequency of them hitting your screen is what builds your relationship with them, and what makes you adhere to them if you do like them, or obviously put off them if you don't. And so if you're not storytelling, both through stories and also some long form personal stuff, then you are missing a lot of opportunity. Cool. Okay, and so trend number 9, the death of the cookie and the pixel. But the iOS update that happened in 2021 is really coming to play out even further in 2022. And the reason behind this is that Apple decided that actually Facebook and Google are making money on ads, and what they're doing is they're basically being able to put a pixel or a cookie on someone, follow them around, and serve them different ads around the place. And Apple were like, well, I'm not up for that because we're not making money on that. And our users are using our phones. So what we're going to do, if they're using a mobile device, laptop, or even an Apple Mac, or an AirBook or whatever it is, plus iPads, plus phones, we're just going to automatically turn off cookies, and we're going to make them private browsers. So it means that you can't track the ROI of your Facebook ads or your Google ads as perfectly as you would like, particularly when you're sending traffic from a social media platform to your website. That's where the thing breaks. As soon as they go off Facebook, the pixel breaks if you're an Apple device, and you can't see what they do on the site. So how do you get through that? Well, what we've been training and coaching our $1 million sprint clients is to do things like Facebook lead ads, which keep people on the Facebook platform. Or if you're running events, you do a Facebook event ad that gets them to register for the event still on Facebook without having to drive them off somewhere else. And then you get the leads from Facebook. You keep them within the walled garden of these social media sites. You can then still see what the ROI is of your ads. So you can still run those ads. You just can't drive them off your website, which makes it interesting because then the website becomes less and less important, and actually how you play within those social media platforms becomes more important. Cool. So just watch out that, especially for advertising. And then finally, which ties into the last point, less is more. Dominate one platform. So when you're talking about how the LinkedIn's becoming a real powerhouse. If you genuinely are using LinkedIn events, LinkedIn outreach, you're posting fantastic organic reach, you're building your network, you're really using all the other cool things you can do with LinkedIn, you will yield so much more results than just using like a Hootsuite or a Buffer, to schedule a post each day to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever it is there, and just spray and pray, as opposed to really going deep within one. We talk about the power of one within the $1 Million Sprint. One traffic source into one consideration, into one sales process, into one delivery, one flagship product, right? So what does that mean? Well, one traffic source means that if you are awesome at Facebook, you'll have a Facebook group that's really vibrant. You'll have great social posts that are going out on Facebook. You have amazing following. You'll have a great page that's working. All of the stuff you'll be using, lots of video on Facebook. There's so much that you could do to great audiences from Facebook. You'll be running Facebook ads. You don't need to be anywhere else to be able to get the amount of people that you need to your consideration piece, i.e. an event or something where people are going to really consider you, to get the right amount of people into your funnel for your sales process. We coach our clients, actually 2 sales a week is enough to get to $1 million in revenue. And if you don't know how that works, then I'd love to show you, but 2 sales a week is enough for you to get to $1 million in revenue within 12 months. And so that does not need you to be awesome on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. It just needs you to be awesome on one of them. Pick the one that's your favorite, dominate in that place, and then bring people into a place that they will consider you even further, such as an event or something along those lines, right? So where are you going to dominate, and how are you going to really make it happen? Because remember, the power of one awareness, one consider, one convert, and then one deliver. Deliver here is the bottom. So awareness should be one platform. How do people find you? Consider should be one thing. So an event like this, one weekly moment. That's how people can consider if they like you. Convert, one place that people actually buy from you. So bring them into your sales process. And then when they buy, sell them one product. We say the flagship product. Don't give them multiple solutions that they have to choose a bronze, silver, and gold and work out where they are. Sell them the solution to their pain. Understand their pain, sell them the solution to pain. One product. It's the reason why my first marketing agency went to $1 million in revenue, because we sold one product. It's the reason why my boiler servicing business, the second business we went up to $1 million in revenue, was because we focused on boiler servicing. We called our business Boiler Servicing 24/7. We just service boilers. One product. And so what do I do now? I help companies sprint to $1 million in revenue. How do I do that? Through the $1 Million Sprint. One accelerator, one product, one type of client that makes it onto that program, because we get them one type of result. We help them to get to $1 million in revenue, right? So how does that flagship product work at the bottom, the one product? That delight, gamify, and advocate. So if you delight people when they buy your one product, and you gamify how your product works, i.e. give them ways that they can win from your game. So they're delighted when you do a great onboarding. You gamify their route through your product so they can win at your product. And there's ways of putting gamification into it, all products, even if you don't think. Then people that are happy and are winning will tell other people, right? And so people that tell other people become your advocates. And so therefore more people then join the top of the funnel, and bam, 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 more and more happens, right? So that, my friends, is the methodology that we work with the $1 Million Sprint. Those were the 10 marketing trends of 2022. And I'm going to open the floor up to questions. Thank you so much for listening. So appreciate that. So please do ask any questions, or did I see any in the chat? If not, please do unmute and ask your questions. Or things to ask.
Hi.
Hey, Jean.
That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. In the old days, it was like, Instagram was for this, Facebook was for this, LinkedIn was for this, and they are all changing. I mean, I like your idea that you just go on one and do it really well. I can see that it saves energy, I suppose, and creates focus. But in fact, they're all starting to cross over a bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, so in some respects, you know, I mean, personally, I warm to some, I don't warm to others, but it's probably a question of not getting used to them. So the how to choose is becoming much more complex.
I think it should be coming a lot easier, right? So as a small business, right, if you are a large company with an agency, then what we would be telling our larger clients is that you need to have one person that's focused on the one platform. So you would have, you know, LinkedIn Larry, who's doing the LinkedIn stuff, and, you know, Facebook Fiona, who's doing the Facebook stuff, right? And so they are then dominating that platform. They live those platforms. As small business owners, we actually go, well, let's do let's work upon our favorite platform where we think we're going to yield the most. So I say to my clients, which platform do you really genuinely hang out on, genuinely get your information from, and really enjoy building relationships on? So what's your favorite? And if you've got a favorite, jump onto that. So for me, it's Facebook. I love Facebook. I've always hang out on there. It's kind of the place, you know, that's where I do a lot of my networking. So we do a lot of LinkedIn. In fact, Richard Woods, does a lot of LinkedIn, but Dean in my business manages my LinkedIn, does my LinkedIn for me. So actually that means that he's the LinkedIn person and then I'm on Facebook. So it allows me to go deep in it. The reason why is there's so many features that are untapped. And if you're not really going into those or yielding results from them, then that's the thing. So what do I mean by yielding results? So we always say, if you're going to put together that awareness piece, you need to bring enough leads into your business each week to be able to fill your consideration. So if you're doing a podcast, you need to make sure that you've got enough downloads that get you enough sales appointments. If you're doing an event like this, you want to have enough attendees that yield enough sales appointments. If you're doing a webinar, you want to have the same thing, right? So if you are not getting new people in from these platforms, then it's not yielding for you. So you need to either change strategy on what you're doing on there, or change the thing that you're actually promoting. So I've got clients that have tried to do podcasts, and the thing is with podcasts, great, but you don't know who's listening to your podcast. It will just tell you 1,000 people subscribed or whatever it is. You don't know their names, email addresses, phone numbers. You can't follow them up. You can't send them bonus material. You can't invite them onto something else. You don't know who they are. You just know that they are listeners. Whereas if you put on a webinar, you can get names, phone numbers, etc. You can send them the recording. You can send the attendees that booked but didn't attend. You can then send them recordings. You can invite them along to the next one. You can do a whole strategy around that. So that's the thing you got to think about. Is my work on the traffic source, the social media platform, bringing enough people to somewhere where people can really see me, feel me, and understand what I'm doing? If they are they then transitioning onto some sort of sales process, if that's relevant? And then am I making sales off the back of it? If I'm not, then you're just creating noise. You just, and there's no point. There's no method in it. There's no thesis in it. We spend too much time creating noise online. God knows the world does not need more noise, but I need a personalized, experiential way of understanding more about what you do. And so give me an experience. Find me, give me an experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's very good. That's very good.
If anybody wants to know which platform they should go on and what type of consideration, let me show you this. What if anybody wants me to work through this piece for them? So where should they be making themselves aware? How do they make themselves aware? How do they get some people into it? How do you do a sales process and how they set up their business? I'm happy to spend 45 minutes with you guys, one-to-one with me, to actually show you that. There's no kind of big obligation in that. It's a strategy session to give you a strategy session. The reason why we do it is that we look for a number of people that we can help to be able to scale their businesses. Most of the clients that we work with want to scale to $1 million in revenue. Some of them are happy just to kind of hit half of that in 12 months, but you'll be surprised how you can get up to that stage. So if that is you and you want to just spend that time completely complimentary just to go through it, no obligation, as I say, Let me just show you how you can do that. And just to book straight in, let me just get out of my presentation. Excuse me, sorry. Why is it not letting me get up? There we go. Okay, right. You just jump onto my website here. It's so simple. At the top, you got my $1 Million Sprint website here. And here is free strategy session. And this is the link to it. And you can see a nice orange button in here. And so this nice orange button here, you just click on that and that goes to my Calendly link. And there is some Calendly appointments in there that you can jump onto. So I'm going to chuck that into the chat now. And it's just going to go straight to my Calendly. Book into there. You can see there's a number of bits, but each day actually, there is probably 1 or 2 appointments each day. There's not massive appointments each day. So jump in there and book a strategy session, and we'll go through exactly how to build awareness, consider and convert into your business and be able to scale that. So it's in the chat now. Oh, did I? No, sorry. I didn't. I did that to just Maurice. So there you go. Right. It's in the chat now there for everybody. So jump on there and book into those appointments. Fantastico. Okay. So next game, any further questions? Yes, Maurice.
One, thank you. I was considering having one, so that solves that problem. It's an observation. I don't know what the answer is. I note that when social media started, we gave away control of our content.
Yeah.
And effectively, at the very best, share it, and at worst, no longer own it. What you now seem to be saying is we're doing that with our audiences as well. How do you, at what point, because presumably if we build an audience on, say, Facebook, they also own that group of people, and they know that that group of people interact with us, so they can sell to them without any further cost to themselves.
I think you got to think about it the other way. That I'm not convincing anybody to set up a Facebook account anymore. You know, you've probably made that decision way in advance of coming on this presentation. You would already be on Facebook, for example. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating an audience, say a group on Facebook within the audience that Facebook already has, i.e. you guys are already there. So I'm not really giving them the audience. What I am saying though, this is the important point, is that don't, that's not me, is that you? What I am saying is that don't allow them to just be on Facebook in a group. Draw them into an email list that you own. And if you don't have ways of doing that, it's so important. So if you can say, look, so one of the great ways you can create a group, and you can ask 3 questions in your Facebook group. It's just an example. And so one of those questions would be, hey, everybody in this group actually benefits from having a free copy of my book. I'll send you a free copy of the book. Just give me your email address and I'll send it to you. Great. So all those people then give you their email address as they jump into your Facebook community, which means that you can then send them the book. So you're continuing that value. They can start to consider you further. But then now you've got your email address, you can then email and say, hey, we've got a special event coming up next week. Would you like an invitation to that? And bam, you now own that person that you found on Facebook who came into your group. You've now got them, you've captured them, their email address. The other big mistake people make on Facebook, for example, LinkedIn similar, is that the leads that come into Lead Center on Facebook. So when you do Facebook ads, they come into something called Lead Center, and they'll stack up all there. I've got thousands of people's email addresses in Facebook at Lead Center. Now, if Facebook lost all that data, I would not have it. So you actually have to set up a Zap, or you have to download it. Zapier, by the way, is basically technology that automatically sends them into your email list. You have to set up something that brings those leads into your database from Facebook, so you can then continue to market them off. It doesn't do it automatically, and it doesn't email you, hey, you've got a new lead automatically. You've got to set all these things up. So you just have to make sure that you're not vulnerable to these platforms. One, when they start, if they lose your data, but 2, when the focus starts to shift, you haven't lost those years of information that you've been building. So you own. The most important thing we say to people is, what is the actual core asset of your business? Is your potential inquiries, your prospect database, because that's where your next sales are coming from. So where is that? If you don't have that, it's not big enough, and it isn't your right target audience, then you don't have a sales asset. So that's important to make sure you got. Cool. I hope that answers the question. John.
Yeah, I was going to say just a word of warning on that, because I did this yesterday. I invited a whole bunch of people into my group, and because I invited them, they bypassed all the questions.
Yep.
So I haven't got their email addresses. So now I've got, oh God, I'm going to have to go back to them all and say, can you all give me your address, your email addresses?
No. The invite strategy is quite strong on Facebook. So you can just invite, and that's quite good. So you can become friends with your potential audience, invite them into your Facebook group. Graham, you've got a Facebook group. What you do then, John, is you create a info swap asset. So you can say, hey, who would like a free copy of my XYZ ebook on this? And you do that within the group. Then people then say, yes, I would. You then DM them and say, great, I'd like to email it to you. What's your email address? So you just have to work as hard in the group to get people's email addresses as you do once they're in there. So it's just different ways of kind of getting to the same result. Both work.
Just that I was inviting them thinking to myself, are they going to answer the 3 questions as they come into the group? And none of them did. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah. And that's just the invite function on Facebook. So
yeah, exactly. That's a word of warning for people from that one.
Cool. Well, look, I've got time for one last question, but just before we do, remember, gang, I've already seen a couple of people ping up with registering. I'll just put it into the chat again. Do jump on that strategy session and book in with me. It'd be great to have a catch up with you and just give you a bit of strategy ahead of 2022. Thank you for the people on this call that have already done that. Great. Final question, gang. Who's got final thoughts or questions for today?
I'm just curious, Richard. Thank you for today, by the way. Really interesting. I've been in the dilemma of Clubhouse. You know, I've been doing the weekly thing and getting some interesting conversations, turning them into podcasts. So I do like a bit of repurposing. What are your thoughts? You're saying it's going down. It appears to be going down. It seems a nicer space than the old Twitterverse and what they do over there. And obviously I'm driving everybody to our monthly meetings. So we've got some members as a result of Clubhouse, but what's your opinion and what's your vibe about it and where do you think it's going?
It just hasn't got the longevity. It just hasn't got the factors. Do you know that the issue was always with Clubhouse was time, the amount of time. Unless you're the one talking and on stage, it's basically you're sitting there and you're not, it's just too much time being used and you'll just lose yourself for hours and hours and hours, and it requires your time on it. And that is an unsustainable platform for people, because anything that's too time heavy won't work. So, and also the other point is that you've got to get people to register for your event, or they can only get your Instagram profile. I know they're opening up all these different options now, but it doesn't allow for, hey, what's your name and email address? You can come along to my Clubhouse event and I will then send you some follow-up stuff or send you some more value or whatever it is. You lose that. So you've got to think about energy from you. So how much time versus what's your output? And so we always say, you know, you should be thinking about, for example, your Clubhouse events may have plenty of people there. We say for our clients that run weekly moments, like for example, this, if you can get 30, 25, 2, that's the rhythm that we put out for clients. So that's 30 people that register for an event like this, 20 people that will attend an event like this. Will give you about 5 strategy sessions on average. And of those 5 strategy sessions, you should close about 2 of those into a sale. 30, 25, 2. Your whole world, your weekly moment is to make a 30, 25, 2 happen in your business. And as I say, with 2 sales a week, you should be able to scale up to $1 million in revenue if you work the right model into your business. And I can show you that if you want to jump on the strategy session, how that works. But Clubhouse does not allow for 30, 25, 2s. It just doesn't. You just can't. You want this heartbeat, bada boom, 30, 25, 2, 30, 25, 2. And if that's not happening, your business has lost that heartbeat. So you're scrambling for the scraps that fall off the Clubhouse table, as opposed to making you front and center within the whole piece. So that's my thoughts. And we say Twitterverse, like, no, don't worry about Twitter. If you like that's not, you know, we're not talking about, you know, I teach 2 things /3. I teach the Facebook, and what I mean by that is Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Those are the two places that are the best places for small businesses to get leads. There where you can put real sustainable campaigns together, real thought leadership based content, and real lead generation funnels from it. And those two places are the playing fields that I feel everybody in this call on this call should be considering. And I think you should only pick one of them. So you should either be LinkedIn, which obviously Keith Grover is clearly not, or you should be the Facebook ecosystem, which would be a Facebook or a Instagram, or if debatably a bit of both. But I would still say, just a Facebook or a LinkedIn, Instagram. Sorry, Facebook or LinkedIn.
Do you still have a presence on any of the others, just so that people, if they go looking for you, they can go, oh, well, that's where they are, and then it drives you to places where you live?
Yeah, do you know, obviously, I know I've got a blue tick on Twitter, and I've got over 10,000 followers on it, and it auto tweets my Instagram stuff, but that's because it used to be my one place. So when I did a bit of TV stuff, I was on The Apprentice and the rest of it, and when I did that, I just did Twitter, and I zoomed up on Twitter, did really well, but then Twitter died, and it was like, having to completely transition off something that did really well for me, but it just wasn't getting the leads, and I transitioned into Facebook. And so, yes, it still sits there and it auto tweets stuff, but it's not, I don't spend any time on there. It's not even on my phone anymore, because it doesn't, if it takes a second of my time up, it's a second away from something else that could make a bigger impact.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Well, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you so much for all your fantastic questions. Amazing to see you all. Please do jump into the strategy session. Really looking forward to it. Thank you for Elaine, who's booked in for tomorrow, and a few of the other people there. Oh, Keith, and on that, fantastic. Thank you. Bye. I need some props like that. Amazing to see you all, and take care. I'll see you next week. Cheers. Bye.